Ulysses, Chapter 15, Part 4, by James Joyce. The gas jet. Perfume! Bloom. Stop! Lynch rushes forward and seizes Stephen's hand. Here, hold on. Don't run amok. Bella. Police! Stephen, abandoning his ash plant, his head and arms thrown back stark, beats the ground and flies from the room, past the whores at the door. Bella screams, After him! The two whores rush to the hall door. Lynch and Kitty and Zoe stampede from the room. They talk excitedly. Bloom follows. Returns. The whores, jammed in the doorway, pointing. Down there! Zoe pointing, There! There's something up. Bella, who pays for the lamp? She seizes Bloom's coattail. Here, you. You were with him. The lamp's broken. Bloom rushes to the hall, rushes back. What lamp, woman? A whore. He tore his coat. Bella, her eyes hard with anger and cupidity, points. Who's to pay for that? 10 shillings. You're a witness. Bloom snatches up Stephen's ash plant. Me? 10 shillings? Haven't you lifted enough off him? Didn't he? Bella, loudly. Here, none of your tall talk. This isn't a brothel. A 10-shilling house. Bloom, his head under the lamp, pulls the chain. Puling, the gas jet lights up a crushed mauve-purple shade. He raises the ash plant. Only the chimney's broken. Here is all he... Bella shrinks back and screams, Jesus, don't! Bloom warding off a blow. To show you how he hit the paper. There's not 6p worth of damage done. 10 shillings. Florrie, with a glass of water, enters. Where is he? Bella, do you want me to call the police? Bloom, oh, I know, bulldog on the premises, but he's a Trinity student. Patrons of your establishment, gentlemen that pay the rent. He makes a Masonic sign. Know what I mean? Nephew of the Vice-Chancellor. You don't want a scandal. Bella, angrily, Trinity, coming down here ragging after the boat races and paying nothing. Are you my commander here, or where is he? I'll charge him, disgrace him I will. She shouts, Zoe! Zoe! Bloom, urgently. And if it were your own son in Oxford? Warningly, I know. Almost speechless, Bella. Who are? Incog. Zoe, in the doorway. There's a row on. Bloom, what? Where? He throws a shilling on the table and starts. That's for the chimney. Where? I need mountain air. He hurries through the hall. The whores point. Florrie follows, spilling water from her tilted tumbler. On the doorstep, all the whores clustered, talk volubly, pointing to the right, where the fog is cleared off. From the left arrives a jingling hackney car. It slows, too, in front of the house. Bloom, at the hall door, perceives Corny Kelleher, who is about to dismount from the car, with 2 silent lechers. He averts his face. Bella, from within the hall, urges on her whores. They blow icky-licky, sticky, yum-yum kisses. Corny Kelleher replies with a ghastly, lewd smile. The silent lechers turn to pay the jarvey. Zoe and Kitty still point right. Bloom, parting them swiftly, draws his caliph's hood and poncho and hurries down the steps with sideways face. Incog Harun al-Rashid, he flits behind the silent lechers and haces on by the railings with fleet step of a pard strewing the drag behind him, torn envelopes drenched in aniseed. The ash plant marks his stride. A pack of bloodhounds, led by Hornblower of Trinity, brandishing a dog whip and tally-ho cap and an old pair of grey trousers, follow from far, picking up the scent, nearer, baying, panting, at fault, breaking away, throwing their tongues, biting his heels, leaping at his tail. He walks, runs, zigzags, gallops, lugs laid back. He is pelted with gravel, cabbage stumps, biscuit boxes, eggs, potatoes, dead codfish, woman's slipper slappers. After him fresh found the hue and cry, zigzag gallops in hot pursuit of Follow My Leader, 65C, 66C, Night Watch, John Henry Menton, Wisdom Haley, V.P. Dillon, Councillor Nenetti, Alexander Keyes, Larry O'Rourke, John Cuff, Mrs. O'Dowd, Pisser Burke, the Nameless One, Mrs. Riordan, the Citizen, Gary Owen, who do you call him? Strangeface, fellow that's so like, saw him before, chap with A1, Chris Callanan, Sir Charles Cameron, Benjamin Dollard, Lenehan, Bartel Darcy, Joe Hines, Red Murray, Editor Brayton, T.M. Healy, Mr. Justice Fitzgibbon, John Howard Parnell, the Reverend Tin Salmon, Professor Jolie, Mrs. Breen, Dennis Breen, Theodore Purefoy, Mina Purefoy, the Westland Rao Postmistress, C.P. McCoy, Friend of Lions, Happy Holohan, Man in the Street, Other Man in the Street, Football Boots, Pug-Nosed Driver, Rich Protestant Lady, Davy Byrne, Mrs. Ellen McGuinness, Mrs. Joe Gallagher, George Lidwell, Jimmy Henry on corns, Superintendent Laracy, Father Cowley, Crofton out of the Collector General's, Dan Dawson, Dental Surgeon Bloom with tweezers, Mrs. Bob Doran, Mrs. Kennefic, Mrs. Wise Nolan, John Wise Nolan, handsome married woman rubbed against wide behind in Clokerstrom, the bookseller of Sweets of Sin, Miss Dubedat Shidibidad, Mesdames Gerald and Stanislaus Moran of Roebuck, the managing clerk of Drimmy's, Weatherup, Colonel Hayes, Mastiansky, Citron, Penrose, Aaron Fitzganner, Moses Herzog, Michael E. Garrity, Inspector Troy, Mrs. Galbraith, the Constable of Eccles, Street Corner, Old Dr. Brady with stethoscope, the mystery man on the beach, a retriever, Mrs. Miriam Dandrade and all her lovers. The hue and cry, helter-skelter, pelter-welter. He's Bloom! Stop Bloom! Stop a Bloom! Stop a robber! Hi! Hi! Stop him on the corner! At the corner of Beaver Street, beneath the scaffolding, Bloom, panting, stops on the fringe of the noisy quarrelling knot, a lot not knowing a jot what high row, and wrangle round the who-what brawl all together. Stephen, with elaborate gestures, breathing deeply and slowly. You are my guests, uninvited, by virtue of the 5th of George and 7th of Edward, history to blame, fabled by mothers of memory. Private car to Sissy Caffrey. Was he insulting you? Stephen addressed her in vocative feminine, probably neuter, ungenitive. Voices. No, he didn't. I seen him. The girl there. He was in Mrs. Cohen's. What's up? Soldier and civilian. Sissy Caffrey. I was in company with the soldiers, and they left me to do, and the young man run up behind me. But I'm faithful to the man that's treating me, though I'm only a shilling whore. Voices. She's faithful, the man. Stephen catches sight of Lynch's and Kitty's heads. Hail, Sisyphus! He points to himself and the others. Poetic? Euro-poetic. Sissy Caffrey. Yes, go to him. And me with a soldier friend. Private Compton. He doesn't want half a thick ear, the blighter. Biff him one, Harry. Private car to Sissy. Was he insulting you while me and him was having a piss? Lord Tennyson, gentleman poet in Union Jack blazer and cricket flannels, bare-headed, flowing-bearded. There's not to reason why. Private Compton. Biff him, Harry. Stephen to Private Compton. I don't know your name, but you are quite right. Dr. Swift says 1 man in armor will beat 10 in their shirts. Shirt is synecdoche. Part for the whole. Sissy Caffrey. To the crowd. No, I was with the privates. Stephen amiably. Why not? The bold soldier boy, in my opinion, every lady, for example. Private car. His cap awry advances to Stephen. Say, how would it be, Governor, if I was to bash in your jaw? Stephen looks up to the sky. How? Very unpleasant. Noble art of self-pretense. Personally, I detest action. He waves his hand. Hand hurts me slightly. Enfants, ce sont voix oignons. To Sissy Caffrey. Some trouble is on here. What is it precisely? Dolly Gray from her balcony waves her handkerchief, giving the sign of the heroine of Jericho. Rahab, cook's son, goodbye. Safe home to Dolly. Dream of the girl you left behind, and she will dream of you. The soldiers turn their swimming eyes. Bloom, elbowing through the crowd, plucks Stephen's sleeve vigorously. Come now, Professor. That carman is waiting. Stephen turns. Eh? He disengages himself. Why should I not speak to him or to any human being who walks upright upon this oblate orange? He points his finger. I'm not afraid of what I can talk to if I see his eye, retaining the perpendicular. He staggers a pace back, Bloom propping him up. Retain your own. Stephen laughs emptily. My center of gravity is displaced. I have forgotten the trick. Let us sit down somewhere and discuss. Struggle for life is the law of existence, but human philosophers, notably the Tsar and the King of England, have invented arbitration. He taps his brow. But in here, it is I must kill the priest and the king. Biddy the Clap. Did you hear what that professor said? He's a professor out of the college. Cunty Kate. I did. I heard that. Biddy the Clap. He expresses himself with such marked refinement of phraseology. Cunty Kate. Indeed, yes. And at the same time with such apposite trenchancy. Private Carr pulls himself free and comes forward. What's that you're saying about my king? Edward VII appears in an archway. He wears a white jersey on which an image of the Sacred Heart is stitched with the insignia of Garter and Thistle, Golden Fleece, Elephant of Denmark, Skinner's and Probyn's Horse, Lincoln's Inn Bencher, an ancient and honorable artillery company of Massachusetts. He sucks a red jujube. He is robed as a grand elect perfect and sublime mason, with trowel and apron, marked made in Germany. In his left hand, he holds a plasterer's bucket, on which is printed Defense du Urinaire. A roar of welcome greets him. Edward VII, slowly, solemnly, but indistinctly. Peace, perfect peace. For identification, bucket in my hand. Cheerio, boys. He turns to his subjects. We have come here to witness a clean, straight fight, and we heartily wish both men the best of good luck. Mahak, Makar, Abak. He shakes hands with Private Carr, Private Compton, Stephen, Bloom, and Lynch. General applause. Edward VII lifts his bucket graciously in acknowledgement. Private Carr to Stephen. Say it again. Stephen, nervous, friendly, pulls himself up. I understand your point of view, though I have no king myself for the moment. This is the age of patent medicines. A discussion is difficult down here, but this is the point. You die for your country, suppose. He places his arm on Private Carr's sleeve. Not that I wish it for you, but I say, let my country die for me. Up to the present, it has done so. I didn't want it to die. Damn death. Long live life. Edward VII levitates over heaps of slain, in the garb and with the halo of joking Jesus, a white jujube in his phosphorescent face. My methods are new and are causing surprise. To make the blind see, I throw dust in their eyes. Stephen. Kings and unicorns. He falls back a pace. Come somewhere and we'll... What was that girl saying? Private Compton. Harry, give him a kick in the knackers. Stick one into Jerry. Bloom to the private softly. He doesn't know what he's saying. Taken a little more than is good for him. Absinthe, green-eyed monster. I know him. He's a gentleman, a poet. It's all right. Stephen nods, smiling and laughing. Gentleman, patriot, scholar, and judge of impostors. Private Carr. I don't give a bugger who he is. Private Compton. We don't give a bugger who he is. Stephen. I seem to annoy them. green rag to a bowl. Kevin Egan of Paris in black Spanish tasseled shirt and People Day Boys hat signs to Stephen. Kevin Egan. Hello, bonjour. The Viogres with dans gens. Patrice Egan peeps from behind, his rabbit face nibbling a quince leaf. Patrice. Socialiste. Don Emile Patrizio Franz Rupert Pope Hennessy in medieval hauberk, 2 wild geese volant on his helm, with noble indignation, points a mailed hand against the privates. Wharf those ikes to footboden, big grand porcos of John Yellow's totos, covered of gravy. Bloom to Stephen. Come home. You'll get into trouble. Stephen, swaying. I don't avoid it. He provokes my intelligence. Biddy the clap. One immediately observes that he is of patrician lineage. The virago. Green above the red, says he. Wolf tone. The bawd. The red's as good as the green, and better. Up the soldiers. Up King Edward. A rough laughs. Ha ha! Aye, hands up to the wet. The citizen with a huge emerald muffler and shillelagh goes. May the God above send down a dove with teeth as sharp as razors to slit the throats of the English dogs that hanged our Irish leaders. The croppy boy, the rope and noose around his neck, gripes in his issuing bowels with both hands. I bear no hate to a living thing, but I love my country beyond my king. Rumble, demon barber, accompanied by 2 black-masked assistants, advances with Gladstone bag which he opens. Ladies and gents, cleaver purchased by Mrs. Piercy to slay Mogg. Knife with which Voisin dismembered the wife of a compatriot and hid remains in a sheet in the cellar, the unfortunate female's throat being cut from ear to ear. Phial containing arsenic retrieved from body of Miss Barron, which sent Seddon to the gallows. He jerks the rope. The assistants leap at the victim's leg and drag him downward, grunting. The croppy boy's tongue protrudes violently. The croppy boy. He gives up the ghost. A violent erection of the hang sends gouts of sperm spouting through his dead clothes onto the cobblestones. Mrs. Bellingham, Mrs. Yelverton Barry, and the Honourable Mrs. Mervyn Talboys rush forward with their handkerchiefs to sop it up. Rumbold. I'm near it myself. He undoes the noose. Rope which hanged the awful rebel, 10 shillings a time. As applied to Her Royal Highness. He plunges his head into the gaping belly of the hanged and draws out his head again, clotted with coiled and smoking entrails. My painful duty has now been done. God save the King! Edward VII dances slowly, solemnly, rattling his bucket, and sings with soft contentment. On Coronation Day, oh, won't we have a merry time, drinking whiskey, beer, and wine. Private car. Here? What are you saying about my king? Stephen throws up his hands. Oh, this is too monotonous. Nothing. He wants my money and my life, though want must be his master for some brutish empire of his. Money I haven't. He searches his pockets vaguely. Gave it to someone. Private car. Who wants your bleeding money? Stephen tries to move off. Will someone tell me where I am least likely to meet these necessary evils? Ça se voit aussi à Paris. Not that I, but by St. Patrick. The women's heads coalesce. Old Gummy Granny, in sugarloaf hat, appears seated on a toadstool, the death flower of the potato blight on her breast. Stephen. Aha! I know you, Gammer. Hamlet Revenge, the old sow that eats her farrow. Old Gummy Granny, rocking to and fro. Ireland's sweetheart. The King of Spain's daughter, Alana. Strangers in my house, bad manners to them. She keens with banshee woe. Oh, Johnny, silk of the kine, she wails. You met with poor old Ireland, and how does she stand? Stephen. How do I stand you? The hat trick. Where's the third person of the Blessed Trinity? Sogarth Aroon. The Reverend Carrion Crow. Sissy Caffrey, shrill. Stop them from fighting! A rough. Our men retreated. Private Carr, tugging at his belt. I'll wring the neck of any fucker says a word against my fucking king. Bloom, terrified. He said nothing. Not a word. A pure misunderstanding. Private Compton. Go it, Harry. Do him one in the eye. He's a pro-Boer. Stephen. Did I? When? Bloom, to the redcoats. We fought for you in South Africa. Irish missile troops. Isn't that history? Royal Dublin Fusiliers. Honoured by our monarch. The navvy, staggering past. Oh, yes. Oh, God, yes. Oh, make the quar, oh, bow. Casqued halberdiers in armour thrust forward, a pentis of gutted spear points. Major Tweedy, mustached, like Turco the Terrible, in bearskin cap, with hackle plume and accoutrements, with epaulets, gilt chevrons, and sabre-tashes. His breast bright with medals, toes the line. He gives the pilgrim warrior sign of the Knights Templars. Major Tweedy growls gruffly. Rorke's drift, up guards, and at 'em! Mahar shalal hashbaz! The citizen. Aaron go bra! Major Tweedy and the citizen exhibit to each other medals, decorations, trophies of war, wounds. Both salute with fierce hostility. Private Carr. I'll do him in. Private Compton moves the crowd back. Fair play here. Make a bleeding butcher's shop of the bugger. Masked bands blare Gary Owen and God Save the King. Sissy Caffrey. They're going to fight for me. Cunty Kate. The brave and the fair. Biddy the Clap. Methinks yon sable knight will joust it with the best. Cunty Kate, blushing deeply. Nay, madam, the ghoul's doublet and Mary St. George for me. Stephen. The harlot's cry from street to street shall weave old Ireland's winding sheet. Private Carr, loosening his belt, shouts, I'll wring the neck of any fucking bastard says a word against my bleeding fucking king. Bloom shakes Sissy Caffrey's shoulders. Speak, you? Are you struck dumb? You are the link between nations and generations. Speak, woman, sacred life-giver. Sissy Caffrey, alarmed, seizes Private Carr's sleeve. Amn't I with you? Amn't I your girl? Sissy's your girl, she cries. Police! Stephen, ecstatically to Sissy Caffrey. White thy fambles, red thy gown, and thy quarrons dainty is. Voices. Police! Distant voices. Dublin's burning, on fire, on fire! Brimstone fires spring up. Dense clouds roll past. Heavy Gatling guns boom. Pandemonium. Troops deploy. Gallop of hoofs. Artillery. Hoarse commands. Bells clang. Backers shout. Drunkers bawl. Whores screech. Foghorns hoot. Cries of valor. Shrieks of dying. Pikes clash on choruses. Thieves rob the slain, birds of prey, winging from the sea, rising from marshlands, swooping from eyries, hover, screaming, gannets, cormorants, vultures, goshawks, climbing woodcocks, peregrines, merlins, black grouse, sea eagles, gulls, albatrosses, barnacle geese. The midnight sun is darkened, the earth trembles. The dead of Dublin, from Prospect and Mount Jerome in white sheepskin coats and black goatfell cloaks, arise and appear to many. A chasm opens with a noiseless yawn. Tom Rochford, winner in athlete's singlet and breeches, arrives at the head of the national hurdle handicap and leaps into the void. He is followed by a race of runners and leapers in wild attitudes. They spring from the brink, their bodies plunge. Factory lasses with fancy clothes toss red-hot Yorkshire barrel bombs. Society ladies lift their skirts above their heads to protect themselves. Laughing witches in red cutty sarks sparks ride through the air on broomsticks. Quaker Leicester plaster blisters. It rains dragon's teeth. Armed heroes sprang up from furrows. They exchange in amity the passive knights of the Red Cross and fight duels with cavalry sabres. Wolfe Tone against Henry Grattan. Smith O'Brien against Daniel O'Connell. Michael Davitt against Isaac Butte. Justin McCarthy against Parnell. Arthur Griffith against John Redmond, John O'Leary against Lear Johnny, Lord Edward Fitzgerald against Lord Gerald Fitzward, the O'Donoghue of the Glens against the Glens of the O'Donoghue. On an eminence, the centre of the earth rises, the field altar of Saint Barbara. Black candles rise from its gospel and epistle horns. From the high barbicans of the tower, 2 shafts of light fall on the smoke-palled altar stone. On the altar stone, Mrs. Mina Purefoy, goddess of unreason, lies naked, fettered, a chalice resting on her swollen belly. Father Malachi O'Flynn, in a lace petticoat and reversed chasuble, his 2 left feet back to front, celebrates camp mass. The Reverend Mr. Hugh C. Haynes, Love M.A., in a plain cassock and mortarboard, his head and collar back to the front, holds over celebrant's head an open umbrella. Father Malachi O'Flynn, in troibo ad altare diaboli. The Reverend Mr. Haynes, Love, to the devil which hath made glad my young days. Father Malachi O'Flynn takes the chalice and elevates a blood-dripping host. Corpus meum. The Reverend Mr. Haynes, Love, raises high behind the celebrant's petticoat, revealing his grey, bare, hairy buttocks, between which a carrot is stuck. My body. The voice of all the damned. Hendia nitopinmo dog dro eof eolela. From on high, the voice of Adonai calls, Adonai, Dog! The voice of all the blessed, Alleluia, for the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. From on high, the voice of Adonai calls, God! In strident discord, peasants and townsmen of orange and green factions kick the Pope and daily sing to Mary. Private car with ferocious articulation. I'll do him in, so help me fucking Christ. I'll wring the bastard's bleeding, blasted fucking windpipe. The retriever, nosing on the fringe of the crowd, barks noisily. Bloom runs to Lynch. Can't you get him away? Lynch, he likes dialectic, the universal language. Kitty, to Bloom. Get him away, you. He won't listen to me. He drags Kitty away. Stephen points. Exit Judas, et laqueo se suspendit. Bloom runs to Stephen. Come along with me now, before worse happens. Here's your stick. Stephen, stick? No, reason. This feast of pure reason. Old Gummy Granny thrusts a dagger towards Stephen's hand. Remove him, Akushla. At 8:35 a.m. you will be in heaven, and Ireland will be free. She prays, oh, good God, take him. Sissy Caffrey, pulling private car. Come on, you're boost. He insulted me, but I forgive him. Shouting in his ear, I forgive him for insulting me. Bloom, over Stephen's shoulder. Yes, go. You see he's incapable. Private car breaks loose. I'll insult him. He rushes towards Stephen, fist outstretched, and strikes him in the face. Stephen totters, collapses, falls, stunned. He lies prone, his face to the sky, his hat rolling to the wall. Bloom follows and picks it up. Major Tweedy, loudly, Carbine in the bucket! Cease fire! Salute! The retriever, barking furiously, the crowd. Let him up! Don't strike him when he's down. Who? The soldier hit him. He's a professor. Is he hurted? Don't manhandle him. He's fainted. A hag. What call had the redcoat to strike the gentleman, and he under the influence? Let them go and fight the Boers. The bawd. Listen to who's talking. Hasn't the soldier a right to go with his girl? He gave him the coward's blow. They grab at each other's hair, claw at each other, and spit, the retriever barking, woo, woo, woo. Bloom shoves them back loudly. Get back, stand back. Private Compton, tugging his comrade. Here, bugger off, Harry. Here's the cops. 2 rain-caped watch, tall, stand in the group. First watch. What's wrong here? Private Compton. We were with this lady, and he insulted us, and assaulted my chum. The retriever barks. Who owns the bleeding tyke? Sissy Caffrey with expectation. Is he bleeding? A man rising from his knees. No, gone off. He'll come to all right. Bloom glances sharply at the man. Leave him to me. I can easily... Second watch. Who are you? Do you know him? Private Carr lurches towards the watch. He insulted my lady friend. Bloom angrily. You hit him without provocation. I'm a witness, constable. Take his regimental number. Second watch. I don't want your instructions in the discharge of my duty. Private Compton pulling his comrade. Here, bugger off, Harry, or Bennett will shove you in the lockup. Private Carr staggering as he is pulled away. God, fuck old Bennett. He's a white-arse bugger. I don't give a shit for him. First watch takes out his notebook. What's his name? Bloom, peering over the crowd. I just see a car there. If you give me a hand, a second, Sergeant. First watch. Name and address. Corny Kelleher weepers around his hat. A death wreath in his hand appears among the bystanders. Bloom, quickly. Oh, the very man, he whispers. Simon Daedalus' son. A bit sprung. Get those policemen to move those loafers back. Second watch. Night, Mr. Keller. Corny Keller, to the watch with drawling eye. That's all right. I know him. Won a bit on the races, Gold Cup. Throw away. He laughs. 20-1. Do you follow me? First watch turns to the crowd. Here, what are you all gaping at? Move on out of that. The crowd disperses slowly, muttering down the lane. Corny Keller. Leave it to me, Sergeant. That'll be all right. He laughs, shaking his head. Ha ha, we're often as bad ourselves, eh? Or worse. What? Eh? What? First watch laughs. I suppose so. Corny Kelleher nudges the second watch. Come, and wipe your name off the slate. He lilts, wagging his head. With my tooraloom, 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 tooraloom. What, eh? Do you follow me? Corny Kelleher, winking. Boys will be boys. Second watch, genially. Ah, sure we were too. Corny Kelleher. I've a car round there. Second watch. All right, Mr. Kelleher. Good night. Corny Kelleher. I'll see to that. Bloom shakes hands with both of the watch in turn. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, he mumbles confidentially. We don't want any scandal, you understand. Father's a well-known, highly respected citizen. Just a little wild oats, you understand. First watch. Oh, I understand, sir. Second watch. That's all right, sir. First watch. It was only in case of corporal injuries I'd have to report it at the station. Bloom nods rapidly. Naturally, quite right. Only you're bound in duty. Second watch. It's our duty. Corny Kelleher. Good night, men. The watch, saluting together. Night, gentlemen. They move off with slow, heavy tread. Bloom blows. Providential, you came on the scene. You have a car. Corny Kelleher laughs, pointing his thumb over his right shoulder to the car brought up against the scaffolding. Ha! 2 commercials that were standing fizz and jammets. Like Prince's faith. One of them lost 2 quid on the race, drowning his grief, and were on for a go with the jolly girls, so I landed them up on Bayhan's car and down to Night Town. Bloom. I was just going home by Gardner Street when I happened to... Corny Kelleher laughs. Sure, they wanted me to join in with the moats. Oh, no, by God, says I. Not for old stagers like myself and yourself. He laughs again and leers with lackluster eye. Ha! Thanks be to God we have it in the house, what? Eh? Do you follow me? Ha! 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 Bloom tries to laugh. Yes, well, matter of fact, I was just visiting an old friend of mine there. Virag, you don't know him. Poor fellow, he's laid up for the past week, and we had a liquor together, and I was just making my way home. The horse neighs. The horse. Home! Corny Kelleher. Sure, it was Behan or Jarvey there that told me after we left the 2 commercials in Mrs. Cohen's, and I told him to pull up and got off to sea. He laughs. Sober hearse driver's a speciality. Will I give him a lift home? Where does he hang out? Somewhere in Cabra, what? Bloom. No, in Sandy Cove, I believe, from what he let drop. Stephen, prone, breathes to the stars. Corny Kelleher, a squint, drawls at the horse. Bloom in gloom looms down. Corny Kelleher scratches his nape. Sandy Cove. He bends down and calls to Stephen. Eh? He calls again. Eh? He's covered with shavings anyhow. Take care they didn't lift anything off him. Bloom. No. I have his money and his hat here and stick. Corny Kelleher. Ah, well, he'll get over it. No bones broken. Well, I'll shove along, he laughs. I've a rendezvous in the morning, burying the dead, safe home. The horse neighs. Home! Bloom. Good night. I'll just wait and take him along in a few. Corny Kelleher returns to the outside car and mounts it. The horse harness jingles. Corny Kelleher from the car standing. Night. Bloom. Night. The Jarvey chucks the reins and raises his whip encouragingly. The car and horse back slowly, awkwardly in turn. Corny Kelleher on the side seat sways his head to and fro in sign of mirth at Bloom's plight. The Jarvey joins in the mute, pantomimic merriment, nodding from the farther seat. Bloom shakes his head in mute, mirthful reply. With thumb and palm, Corny Kelleher reassures that the 2 bobbies will allow the sleep to continue for what else is to be done. With a slow nod, Bloom conveys his gratitude, as that is exactly what Stephen needs. The car jingles Touraloom round the corner of the Touraloom lane. Corny Kelleher again reassuralooms with his hand. Bloom, with his hand, assuralooms. Corny Kelleher that he is reassuraloomte. The linking hoofs and jingling harness grow fainter with their tooraloo-loo-loo-loo-lay. Bloom, holding in his hand Stephen's hat, festooned with shavings and ashplant, stands irresolute. Then he bends to him and shakes him by the shoulder. Bloom. Hey! Ho! There's no answer. He bends again. Mr. Dedalus! There's no answer. The name, if you call, somnambulist. He bends again and, hesitating, brings his mouth near the face of the prostrate form. Stephen! There's no answer. He calls again. Stephen! Stephen frowns. Who? Black Panther? Vampire? He sighs and stretches himself, then murmurs thickly with prolonged vowels. Oh, drive Fergus now, and Pierce Woods woven shade. He turns on his left side, sighing, doubling himself together. Bloom. Poetry. Well educated. Pity. He bends again and undoes the buttons of Stephen's waistcoat to breathe. He brushes the wood shavings from Stephen's clothes with light hand and fingers. £1.7, not hurt anyhow. He listens. What? Stephen murmurs. Shadows. The woods. White breast. Dim sea. He stretches out his arms, sighs again, and curls his body. Bloom, holding the hat and ash plant, stands erect. A dog barks in the distance. Bloom tightens and loosens his grip on the ash plant. He looks down on Stephen's face and form. Bloom communes with the night. Face reminds me of his poor mother, in the shady wood. The deep white breast. Ferguson, I think I caught. A girl, some girl. Best thing could happen to him. He murmurs, swear that I will always hail, ever conceal, never reveal any part or parts, art or arts, he murmurs. In the rough sands of the sea, a cable tow's length from the shore, where the tide ebbs and flows. Silent, thoughtful, alert. He stands on guard, his fingers at his lips in the attitude of a secret master. Against the dark wall, a figure appears slowly, a fairy boy of 11, a changeling, kidnapped, dressed in an Eton suit with glass shoes and a little bronze helmet, holding a book in his hand. He reads from right to left inaudibly, smiling, kissing the page. Bloom, wonderstruck, calls inaudibly, "Rudy!" Rudy gazes unseeing into Bloom's eyes and goes on reading, kissing, smiling. He has a delicate mauve face. On his suit he has diamond and ruby buttons. In his free left hand he holds a slim ivory cane with a violet bow knot. A white lambkin peeps out of his waistcoat pocket.